I'm building a Lamborghini. I'm talking carbon fiber. I'm talking Lamborghini badges. And look at my dashboard.
Or it's just a case.
Well, this is the closest I'll get to ever owning a Lambo. So today we're going to be building out the brand new Lian Li O11 Evo RGB Lamborghini edition. But I have some XPG RAM and storage to put through its paces, as well as testing two coolers against each other from Cooler Master to keep this engine nice and cool. Now, when I think Lamborghini, I think really fast, the top of the line components. So we're actually going to be installing a 14900K CPU in this system. We've got all of the XPG products as well, which we are putting in, but I really want to test them to their full potential. Is that a spider? There's a spider on here. It looks like a freaking crab. Look at that. Why is there a spider? Now we're going with the 14900K because I really want to introduce a lot of heat into this system. My goal today is to test those two new coolers against each other and show how well the version 2 performs against the version 1. And I also want the XPG RAM and NVMEs to be operating at their biggest potential. So what does that mean? Pairing it up with the best of the best. So I've no need for the integrated heat sinks on these NVMEs because the motherboard actually has its own. And that'll keep them nice and cool. So our first NVMe drive is going to be our main drive that we install our important programs and games and Windows onto. This is the GAMAX S70 Blade. It is a 1 terabyte drive with 7400 megabytes per second read and 6800 megabytes per second write. It's also compatible with PS5. Now this is another Gen 4 NVMe. This is the GAMAX S60, 1 terabyte capacity. We're going to be using this for our files and other things. And as we know, games these days, they're taking up so much space, so having that extra drive is really gonna help us. This has read and write speeds of 5000 megabytes per second and is also compatible with PS5. However, this is a bit of a cheaper option if you don't need the faster speeds that the S70 has to offer. Now for our RAM, we're going with the XPG Lancer Blade DDR5. This is a 32 gigabyte set, so it's going to be plenty for our gaming and our fast Lamborghini machine. It's also 6000 megatransfers per second and CL30 timing, so we've got really low latency with this RAM. The RGB on here is also going to be nice and diffused, so we won't see individual LED hotspots. And because it's super low profile, it's actually lower profile than the heat sinks on the VRMs, we're not going to have any compatibility issues when it comes to radiator support. So this is the ML360L. Now we are gonna be first testing this. So I wanna apply the thermal paste pretty similar between both. I may even do a few different runs just to make sure that thermal paste application is not a factor here. And I wanna see the improvement between their ML360 V2. Now I know they have different fans. I don't know what else is different yet. So it'd be good to put them head to head to see what the performance increase actually is. So good, just because you can fit your fingers in between the fan blades to get it dropped through.
No, I did exactly what you did.
Yeah, but my fat chongus fingers couldn't fit in between the blades. All right, so just remember, I did a line, pretty scuffed line, and I used the cryo fuse. That's for the next cooler, okay? I'm asking you to remember because I'll forget.
Oh, me?
Yeah. Audience, remember that for me, okay? Amelia, so I want you to try and pronounce XLR8 slowly, but in one word.
Accelerate.
Accelerate, exactly what we're gonna be doing once we install our GeForce RTX 4080 Super graphics card from PNY. Look, I only chose this graphics card because the name Accelerate, it's literally fitting for a Lamborghini case.
Perfect.
Perfect, let's get it installed. You gotta think that must take some brains to come up with that, right? As soon as I picked it off of the shelf, I was like, wow, that's the perfect fit. Accelerate. Vroom, vroom. Void warranty if removed. So for our power supply, we're going with a 1200 watt power supply. 1200 watt, you said? 1200 watts, that's right. What is blocking this shit? Come on, man. This power supply is just fatter than the rest. I could make it easier for myself just by undoing 2 screws, taking this out, and then installing the power supply first. All right, so our first test is running. I'm going to test the stability of this CPU temperatures by running Cinebench R23. I've got it set up for a 30-minute test run. I've also got Core Temp in the background. So Core Temp is actually going to log the highest readings on every single individual core. And I'll be able to compare that against a Cinebench R23 run with the new CPU cooler. Now, I know that we probably will experience a little bit of thermal throttling. The 14900K is known to go into the 90s in a Cinebench run. It's an extremely hot CPU. The main thing I want to see here is a difference between majority of the cores when it comes to these 30-minute runs. Well, there we have it, guys. That is our 30 minutes up with the Cooler Master Liquid. We had a total of 1, 2, 3 cores reach 95 degrees, which I believe is thermal throttle point. We've also got another 3 cores that reached in the 90s, then the rest are in the 80s and the 70s. So what we're gonna do now is we're actually going to swap out this liquid cooler for the Cooler Master Liquid V2, and then we'll compare like for like, core for core, and see which one is better for cooling. All right, time to swap it over. That was a good, even spread of paste. Does look like a little bit more pressure on the left side than the right side, but it's not too bad. It did spread evenly and got around the edges. Rightio, so our first test was actually for the Master Liquid 360L Core ARGB. This is the brand new one. And now we are going to be testing the Master Liquid ML360L V2. This is the older one. So we'll do another 30-minute run. And if you guys remember, we had about 3 cores that were at 95, 3 other cores in the 90s, and the rest were 70s and 80s. And oh, I could already see one that's hit 100 degrees. Okay, yeah. So this one's definitely not as good as the other one. The liquid has not even heated up yet, and we can already see that the other one is so much better. Let's just let this run for 30 minutes and I'll come back with a conclusion. Okay guys, so with 10 seconds left, one thing I did want to note over here is that you can see that the whole thing has been thermal throttling the whole time at 5.4 gigahertz, whereas our last cooler was able to keep our CPU at 5.7 gigahertz the whole time. Plus, every single core is highlighted yellow. Every single core is pretty much overheating. We have nothing in the 70s at all like the last one. Pretty much half of our cores are either hitting 100 degrees, high 90s, or at least in the 90s, and the rest are high 80s. So you can see how much more improvement there is between the old AIO cooler and the new one. All right guys, now there is one more thing that I really need to test, and Cooler Master calls it the ATMOS. Already comes pre-installed with the fans. We got sleeved cables as well. And I said to Cooler Master, I've really got no 240mm AIO to test it against. They said, don't worry about it, put it in, and you're gonna be amazed with the results. So we're gonna run it through the same test as the 360mm coolers. Now, let's be real, I don't think it's going to be a 360mm cooler. I'm sure they know it's not going to as well, but it'll be interesting to see what the results are. Let's see how it goes. Oh shit. The other one actually peaked straight at 100 straight away. This one's cooler than the rest so far. Let's come back in 30 minutes. Well, it's been 30 minutes testing the 240 ATMOS, and honestly, when we first started, the temperatures were looking almost too good to be true. It was outperforming the 360s from the beginning, and I thought to myself, okay, let's get a bit of heat saturation in the loop and it'll fall behind. This ATMOS 240 just outperformed not one, but two 360mm coolers from Cooler Master. The ATMOS is insane, and I was not expecting it at all. Like, we have one core that hit 90 degrees, just one single core. It was at 5.7 gigahertz the whole time. No thermal throttling. Every single temperature, apart from that one core, was either in the mid 80s or in the 70s. My mind is blown. A 240 handled a 14900K in a Cinebench run for 30 minutes. That just sounds stupid to me. I got straight on the phone with Cooler Master. I retested shit and I made sure I did everything right. And you know what? Out of it, I said to him, send me the 360mm version. I want to deep dive into it because this is some serious fucking cooling and it is incredible. So if you guys want to see a video of a deep dive into the 360mm version compared to the other ones, we'll fully tear them apart, have a look at the insides and everything. Let us know in the comments, guys. So onto the NVMEs, the GAMX S70 Blade 1TB drive. We actually ran a crystal disk mark and we actually saw a read of 7,127 and a write of 6,056 megabytes per second. Now, this is slightly lower than the advertised speeds, and this was with a 1 gigabyte file transfer. Now, when doing this benchmark, you also need to keep in mind that as you fill up the disk, you will actually start to get slower results. So because this is 30% full, that also could be contributing to the slightly lower than advertised speeds. And this will be further confirmed when we actually test the S60, which actually has 0% storage on it at the moment. So let's give it a try. And here is the final results for the XPG GAMX S60. As you can see here, we actually got an extra 225 megabytes per second above the advertised speeds for the read. So it just goes to show, having a completely empty drive, you get the maximum amount of speed out of it. In fact, we're getting more than advertised. But then as you start adding files to it, that's when it starts to slow down a little.
You're my proof.